Hi, I'm Marco. Today I'm going to show you how to develop a very simple system. Our system comprises three devices: device A, device B, and device C. Each of these devices contains ports for interfacing with the other devices. These ports are interconnected by a bus. Furthermore, we also have to define physical connectors of these devices and the link of the device to the bus. Let's assume that device A is our information source. So it contains all the information description, the so-called port content. It comprises parameters, containers, labels, frames, and so on. I'm a lazy engineer, and that's why I don't want to define every device on its own. I assume these three devices are of the same type, and so the first thing what I want to do is to define a template device. It contains all the general information which is repeatedly existent for our project devices. Let's enter dBricks and see how to do that. In dBricks we have a section Templates. When entering this section we get a list of already existing device templates, but for our project we will add a new one. Let's call it device template. This device template shall include the information of the picture. So the next thing is we have to define ports. We add port A and dedicate a bus type ARINC429 with a direction output and a speed of 100,000 bits per second. Furthermore, we add the port B of the same bus type, but with the direction input and the same speed. No, the same one. Save. In order to provide the information which has to be exchanged between the devices, we also have to define the port content, which we can do in the device template section, ports contents. First, we define a container for this. We call it port content of type ARINC429, this function. ARINC429 is a specialized bus protocol and it's containing words. So we define a word which can be transferred to the other devices. This word has a value and when we add data we can enter the position in the message with the value hello. Finally, we need to dedicate the port content to the port who is intended to send this port content. We do this by adding a reference and therefore dedicate this port content to this port. Now we are ready to create our devices. We do this by instantiating every device from our template. For doing this, we have a project container which we find in the project section in dBricks. In this section we also find other projects, but for us interesting is the demo project, which is empty and useful for creating our devices. So let's create device A, B and C from the template. We do this by dedicate an identifier and a name, and assign the template that we have produced before, the device template. We repeat this step for the other two devices because I decided to use the same template for all the three devices in this example. So now in the end we have three devices, all based on the same device template, which means that they have all the same properties. The next step is to interconnect these devices and create the bus. For creating this bus interconnection, which means that we interconnect the ports of the devices with each other, we can do this heading from just one of the devices, because we have all the three devices interconnected with the same bus. Let's have a deeper look into the device A properties, which are the same properties that we have already defined in our template. If we have a look to the ports, we see that there are port A as an output port and port B as an input port, like we have defined it in the template. We now can add a bus connection to the port A. dBricks provides us the possibility to choose the device we want to interconnect. In this case, it will be device B. Our intention is to connect device A, port A, to device B. Device B also provides port A and B, and we choose port B. This means we have a connection from device A, airing 429 port A output, to device B, to an airing 429 input, which is port B. We create a new bus and we dedicate a name which is called, let's call it new bus. Now we have a logical interconnection between device A and device B, which means we have this part of the complete bus here already defined. Let's also define this part here. We can also do it from this view. From this port A, we add another port connection to device C, also port B. So we can see we have from device A the airing 429 output, which is port A, to the device C, airing 4 to 9 input, which is port B. In this case, there is no need to create another bus name because the bus is already existing, so we can reuse this one, which is the first port bus. Now we have a port connection from device A to device B and device C, which is exactly what we see here in this picture. I'm sure you wonder why we did not yet create connectors for our devices. This was intentionally. I wanted to show you that you can add and change all definitions while the project. Let's assume we did not know which connector to use in this early stadium of defining the ports and the port interconnection. But now we know which connectors we need. So let's now go and define the connectors for these devices. The fine thing is, every device is an instance of the same template, which means that every device will have the same connector. So we just have to create it in the template once. dBricks provides an easy method to jump directly to the dedicated template. We can do this by here. We have device A now, and we have here the link to the device A template. I can open it in a new tab. And so you can see that we are directly in the dedicated device template. Sorry. Okay, here we have the section connectors, and now we can just add the connector that we need. I add one of the database already. I have at the moment no idea what connectors are there. Okay, let's choose this one, an amphenol something connector, which has properties that are already defined in the database. If we have a double click on it, we can see that it provides 13 pins, a back shell, and an external ground access. By assigning this connector to the device template, we also assigned it to our 3 devices. So if I go back to the project, to our device view, we can have a look into any device, and we will see, let's choose device B, we will see that the connector is assigned now and is available with all the pin contacts. The next what we need is the dedication of these pin contacts to the ports, because the ports must use these pins to interface to extern. This we can also do in the template. I switch back to the template. By assigning the ports to the contacts. So let's choose port A first and link it to the contacts we define. Let's assume 10, 11, and the shield on the back shell. Let's also assign port B to some contacts. Let's assume 1, 2, and the back shell for the shield. Although the pin assignment we can now see in our device. So if we have a look on the port of the device, we see We are here in device B, careful. Device B is interconnected to device A and device C, and we occupy the pins 1 and 2 of the port B in the device B. Now, we have defined the device template. We have instantiated the 3 devices A, B and C. In the template we have defined the ports, the connectors and the dedication between port and connector, and we have defined the port contents. So pretty fine for now. After interconnecting the devices by the bus, we have a final result, our simple system. In order not to have the obligation to draw it by hand, dBricks provides another fine feature. Going back to the project section, into the project, we have a report section. Let's create the connection diagram. We can choose from our project devices we want to see in this diagram. On the left side we choose device A. On the right side we can choose device B or device C or both. We can also let the tool choose for us and can now create our connection diagram, which in the end looks like this here. As in our sketch, you can see our 3 devices, the port definitions, the interconnection between these devices, and the assignment to the connectors and the pins. Thank you so far, and bye bye.